want it to be even bigger. Your thoughts on that, and also, what it's like having someone like Dr. Keenum or John Cohen, be guys who are pretty active and wanting to have the playoff expanded.
I'm thrilled. I think it's a huge step the right direction, and I think that having Dr. Keenum involved is a huge step to the positive. Not just because I want it to be that way, but anybody that needs common sense and needs to get something done, I think they're in really good hands with Dr. Keenum, especially in this world of bureaucracy and passing the buck. You want to have somebody capable of handling things, and I think he's a good example of that, as exemplified by the playoffs.
Mike, kind of after seeing any film from Saturday, I know it was only one game, but did you see anything from that game that could be a good sign for the long term for this year in terms of your offense?
Yeah, if we improve on a bunch of stuff, we can be better next time we play. I mean, we got a long ways to go, but we've got some eager, willing guys to do it, but we definitely have to get better.
Coach, you mentioned that there's the old adage that the team improves the most between game one and game two. I don't know if you subscribe to that, but maybe what are some of the things maybe you saw on film that you'd like to clean up this week?
I think we got to block better at receiver. I think offensive line has to block better at the second level, although I thought we were pretty good at the point of attack. I thought that our receivers need to be faster and more precise with their routes, although I saw improvement, and then occasionally guys exceeded what I thought they would do. I think that it's very important that we keep all those positions competitive so that each of those guys have the pressure of playing time riding on how they practice. I thought that our secondary needs to continue to improve, particularly our safeties. And I think that our linebackers, although very good at times, need to have good eye discipline, and even when and we can't ever feel like we've got the game in hand. Defensive line, we saw some depth there, which I thought was good. But also I think that if we play with lower pads, more violent hands, we can affect the quarterback more.
Questions? John?
Obviously, y'all are with Arizona this week. Jaden's a guy that you're familiar with, that you recruited. What do you kind of see from him, and what kind of impressed you about him that wanted to recruit him?
Well, he's a very competitive guy, good player. Good player. He's got quick feet. Ball comes off his hand quickly, and he's accurate. I think that, but he's definitely a good player, and I think, he's competitive, and he makes that side of the ball for them competitive.
Coach, the late start time, how do you kind of account for that in your scheduling? I mean, is it a factor at all? Do you move things back? How do you kind of plan to handle that?
The biggest thing is you try to have a first game in the middle of a lightning storm and hope that you have a 2-hour delay, thereby spending a lot of unnecessary hours, though valuable for preparation for when you go, precisely 2-hour time zone different and play Arizona. No, you just really you just stay up later, to be honest with you. I mean, computers and all the rest, and I don't know, the more homogenized college lifestyle. Maybe they don't stay up as late as they used to, but I know when I was their age, it didn't require very much encouragement to stay up late, and so, may not be as much fun if we require it like we're going to on Saturday, but I think we're all excited to be up late and go play Arizona.
LaQuinston Sharp got recognition from the SEC for his performance in that game against Memphis, I guess. What did you see from him to have that type of performance right out of the gate?
Really, the biggest thing was just steady improvement. I think he's steadily improved. I think he's gotten better. From the day we got here, he's one guy that I think is improved every step of the way. I think he continues to improve. I think he does a good job communicating with the rest of the offensive line and gets the most out of those guys. Gets the most out of those guys, and and he's just very committed. He's very committed, and then as a result of that, he's evolved into a very good leader.
Coach, I don't know how quickly you watched the film, but what are your early impressions of the Arizona Wildcats?
Jeez, I keep coughing. All right, I think they're good. I think they're much improved. I think that quarterback's a key position for them. They have some skill guys that can hurt you. They're big on the offensive line and the defensive line. They've had some key transfers that I think help them out. And then it's a little unpredictable what they're going to do because that defensive staff hasn't been together before.
Coach, after you left the other night, after your post-game comments, Will came in here, and he was, you could tell, even despite the fact he'd had a big game, he was still a little bit unsatisfied and seemed a little bit aggravated himself that he could have done some things better. Have you seen, that kind of, I guess, was a little bit like your personality. Have you kind of seen that around in the roster, not just out of Will, but some of these guys now that they've been in your system and been under you for 2 or 3 years now?
That's kind of hard for me to gauge, really. But he is a competitive guy, and he works an awful lot and awfully hard when people aren't around. And I think that how good of a player you are, or even a coach you are, is kind of dictated by what you're doing when nobody's around, when nobody's looking, and that type of thing. And I think Will's a really good example of a guy that's really productive with time like that. And I think that him and his leadership's kind of rubbing off on the locker room, like Q also, LaQuinston as well. And I think we're getting a number of guys like that. Hopefully that helps generate a lot of improvement.
Coach, after the game, Chance Lovertich got engaged. I don't know if you're aware of that. But I was going to see if you had any advice for him.
It sounds like I'm too late. My best advice would either make sure that the ceremony and, on one hand, you'd like to do it after the season, but no sense torturing yourself. First advice, elope. Just eliminate all the family input, aggravation, constant change of course that exists with planning weddings, and the anxiety and the pressure that almost drives people to divorce before they even start. And the second would be, if you're not going to elope, let's get it done certainly by the off week, during the off week, and you can honeymoon it up a little bit during the off week. I think would be but once you made the decision, you got to get that deal in play. The other thing, continue to make sure that you hang out with your friends and pursue all the interests and things that you did that she fell in love with, that you fell in love with, so that, because there's nothing worse than two people that get married that try to act all domesticated because they think that's how married couples and old people behave. It's the most bogus, boring stuff ever, and it's very disturbing. So hopefully they don't resort to that or stoop to that or vicariously just gravitate that direction because others do.
Coach Caleb Ducking, no wedding questions for me, but Caleb Duncan had a pretty big game, had a couple big plays, and then it seemed like he and that exchange, even without the football, it seemed like they were having trouble matching up with him athletically. But how do you kind of prepare him for that, the pushing and grabbing and that kind of stuff, where people are going to kind of prevent him from getting the football?
Well, guys like Emmanuel Forbes and DCAM and those guys have kind of prepared him because, it's pretty much a fight every day in practice. I mean, they grab and pull and tug, and so I think he's had a pretty good testing ground, so to speak, for that. I was glad he had a good game because he's been making plays like that in practice for quite a while. So it's good to see him break it out on the game field, and hopefully more to come.
You mentioned that you were thrilled about the expansion of the playoff. What, in your opinion, is the biggest benefit to this coming into play?
Well, first of all, that every other level has playoffs, and I think that it'll keep more people engaged longer. I think that part's really good. The other thing I think is we do it for a while and try it, then obviously, may find ways to improve it and continue it. But I think it's a very good start, and I think that I applaud him for getting it done. Hopefully, we can do it next year, and if we can sort it and push it that quickly. I don't know if we can.
Mike, I was curious what kind of things or games stand out to you when you reflect on your time playing, pretty frequently in the Pac-12 after dark, and I guess how you kind of prepare your team when those environments kind of seem to have a knack for some crazy momentum swings and plays that, swing games both ways.
I don't understand the last part, but
I guess just how you kind of prepare a team knowing, there's a lot of momentum swings and not get too high, too low in certain situations.
the biggest thing is you just get them up late. You get there, go to the movie, make curfew a little later, move breakfast up, and then get them up later, which it's not too unusual for college students to need more sleep anyway, whether they think they do or not. And then just sequence the meetings in a later fashion and go play. This one will be kind of unusually late for us. I mean, because what is it, 10 p.m. or something like that? Yeah, you just sequence everything later and try to fill the time with, stagger out the meetings and that sort of thing. But, yeah, one of the biggest things is just try to wake them up later.
Anything else?
You kind of have any games that stand out that you remember from those? You had a few pretty big comeback wins in that.
The latest one that I've ever played in was, I think, and they didn't do it again. I think we played Texas A&M at 9:30 local time in Texas, and thank goodness we won that sucker because can you imagine, losing that game? Let's see. So by the time you're actually off the field, it's about 2:30. And there's always kind of a postmortem think about deal with the game. And then having lost the game, no matter what, it'd be kind of late and kind of brutal, So, although I will say this, it's a lot better than like 10 p.m. kickoffs or something like that.
Coach, you've made plenty of trips to the state of Arizona during your time at Washington State. Have you seen that desert heat kind of affect your teams in the past? And if so, how do you kind of prepare your team for that?
I don't really think the heat will, but I think you want to stay hydrated. It's a drier thing. And then, so I think stay hydrated. I haven't noticed a big difference. And then plus, it's at night and the desert cools off at night. People don't fully realize how much cooler a desert gets at night and than it does here, for example. And then so it'll be cooled some, and then and we're we're a hard team to heat out anyway, so got to make sure we drink a lot, and then just go play the game. I mean, the biggest thing is none of those things need to be distractions. Just focus on what we do, and because we'll do it anyway.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks.